Now, let's take at the issues, take a look at the issues that has been trending, even online as well. There's been comment as regards this. The United States President Donald Trump has commended President Bola Tinubu for his efforts in tackling terrorism and insecurity in Nigeria, particularly attacks on Christian communities. But beyond the diplomatic praise, what does this endorsement mean for Nigeria? Now, the Nigerian security situation has, gotten to a level that lots of Nigerians are hoping for a breakthrough very soon. I mean, Nigerian security operations, international partnership, and the fight against terrorism. We have a letter from the president commending our president as well. But let's look into the issue now. We're now joined by Air Vice Marshal Ola Tokunbo Adesanya, retired. Good morning to you, sir. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, please.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us this morning. Let's get right into the conversation proper. When the President of the United States now publicly, commends Nigeria's fight against terrorism, is this simply a diplomatic courtesy, or does this send a stronger message internationally? Or where are we with this letter? And even the timing of the letter has been questioned. But let's get your take on the letter in the first place, the commendation from the U.S. President.
Okay, maybe before I fully answer your question, what exactly do you think is the issue with the timing of the letter?
I mean, the letter dates that it was sent in July 6th, and we're just getting to know of that letter now. And Nigerians are wondering, if there's a commendation that came in for our presidency, why didn't we just hear at the moment it rolled out? I mean, we see where President Donald Trump rolls all of this, his talks on Truth Social. We hear them. The moment he rolls it out, the world gets a hold of it, we run with it. But if we get a recommendation for our presidency that we're doing something right, we should have gotten this letter to the public. We should have known of this before now. I mean, not every time complaints, there's a commendation that has come in our way. Why didn't we get this letter earlier? These are the concerns of Nigerians as well.
Okay, I think it's the prerogative of the government of the day to release the letter and whenever it chooses to. And it's also the prerogative of the government not to even do so. Although if left to me, it could have also been released earlier. You asked whether it was just a political thing or where we are. There's no doubt that efforts are being made by the government towards ensuring that the lives of Nigerians are more secure than they ever were. The reality is just that as long as we continue to have one form of insecurity issue or the other, as long as Nigerians everywhere do not feel safe and feel safe to go from place to place, the optics will always be that nothing is being done. But it doesn't take away from the fact that something is being done, and a lot actually is being done towards tackling the insecurity issues. I say this not as an insider at the moment, but from knowing how it was while I was in the service. Even at the time, enormous efforts were being put in place. But what you can always see that will make the difference is to look at what it was and what it is now. And then one could also imagine what it could have been. And then maybe that can give an inkling into exactly what effort is being made. And of course, the most indicative thing will be to always keep the public abreast of the efforts that are being made. However, it's not every information that can be made known to the public in order not to jeopardize the forces that are at play at every time.
I mean, the reality for many Nigerians is that attacks, kidnappings, and banditry are still happening in different parts of the country. So when the government receives international praise, how do we reconcile that with what many citizens still experience on ground? I mean, these are those who are living in this situation. To say that you're getting commendation to say, oh, you have been able to fight insecurity, but there are those who are still living in it. There are those who can't sleep with their eyes but closed. There are those who can't go to their farmlands. They have to pay certain money before they can access their farmlands. But then that's the reality of some Nigerians at the moment. But then there's a commendation that comes in to say, well done for a great job. How do we reconcile that?
Well, I think it's easy to reconcile it. Like I've said, my understanding and my conviction at this point is that we are not where we ought to be. But that is not to take away from the fact that a lot is being done to ensure that Nigerians are secured. And maybe time will not permit one, but uh, to reel out some of these things. First, the equipment to fight terrorism, they are not usually things that you get off the shelf. And of course, I know that so much acquisition have been done in the recent years. Let me take a close look at the last major incident that was quite public, and that's the abduction in Oyo State. I particularly was very happy at what I saw as a change in trajectory. In the past, what we had always seen were indications, even though one did not have the evidence, but what we had always seen were indications that ransoms were paid. But in this particular case, it was very clear that no ransom was paid to the abductors. And how was it done? It was basically an intelligence driven operation. It took quite a while, but at the end of the day, we saw that the victims, the kidnapped victims, except for those that had been killed earlier, they were all at the end of the day rescued. And beyond that, for the first time, we are seeing that for the first time, those kidnappers, we have some of them being already charged to court by the DSS. I think this is the step in the right direction. It might not be that we are where we are yet, but I believe that every positive step should be commended. And I know that the United States of America does not write letters lightly. For the government of the US to have written that letter, it means they have seen even beyond what many Nigerians have seen.
I'm going to ask you directly this question. And I'm going to ask, do you believe that this letter is real?
I have absolutely no reason to doubt it. The basis of the basis of nationhood is the legitimacy of the government of the day. The moment we start doubting the credibility of the government as a people, we might end up becoming victims of what is known as hybrid warfare. If the government of the day has come up with a pronouncement, as long as the other party has not said, no, it is not the case, then we have no reason not to believe it. I always believe in belief first, unless afterwards a reason comes, and a very good reason comes why one should not believe it.
I mean,
So I have
the
no
Nigerian
doubt at
people
this moment.
have some doubts about if this letter is real or not. That's why I did ask you that question now, because just last week we had a lawmaker say cuts all aids to Nigeria because of insecurity. Christians are being killed and all. And just in the midst of that, we know Donald Trump and how he operates with his words. When it comes to the security in Nigeria, he's been outspoken about it. Him and Truth Social are very much active. He will go right there and tweet everything. But here we are. We haven't gotten a video of him saying anything or on his Truth Social. But it's been said that there's a letter. And when you say we shouldn't, doubt our government and all, of course, definitely we should believe our own people. But over time, we've seen scenarios play out where the truth is not being said, transparency is not there. So would you blame the Nigerian people who are also questioning the credibility of this letter? And again, I'll go back to the timing. Just when we have a lawmaker from the US say this, and then we have Atiku and his lobbies, try to take the matter of this to the US president, and then the government of the people back home here comes to say there's a letter of commendation. And even the people of Nigeria say we're still living in fear. Would you want to blame the Nigerian people? Or would you still remain to say you believe the credibility of this letter?
At every point, my focus will always be in support of any government of the day. And believe me, it's a critical element in patriotism. Well, some might have questioned the timing of the release of the letter. And of course, anybody who questions it has the right to do so. It doesn't take, the most important thing is it real? I believe the letter has been out now for about 24 hours or thereabout. From the moment I think the chief press secretary or so to the president released the letter. Certainly, uh, actors in the United States have seen the release of the letter. We can be very sure that if that letter was not real, we will have got a response by now.
Okay, well, away from the debate on the legitimacy or otherwise of this particular paper, letter rather, I want you to speak on the possible doors that this could open. What do you think this could mean for us, especially in the fight against terrorism and so many other challenges that we're facing security-wise? Now, in recent time, we've heard of the U.S. helping out in terms of intelligence sharing, sending some of their troops to help out with access to military equipment and all of that. Now we hear that there's also a commendation letter coming from the U.S. What more doors do you think this could open in our fight against terrorism?
Well, I think the starting point is that we might have distractions being reduced. When I say distractions, I mean there are possible distractions that come the way of security forces as a result of intergovernmental relations. If we look at the tone of the letter, it says, among other things, talks about the cooperation that's ongoing, particularly a joint working group between the U.S. and the Nigerian government, which we are all aware of, that took off earlier this year. And it says, among other things, that the focus has been, sharing of intelligence, capacity building, and I think one more thing, yes, equipping also. So these are key areas. I've always maintained that it isn't as if that the Nigerian military does not have the capability to face its problems. The major challenges when it comes to asymmetric warfare would oftentimes be intelligence. And certainly we have limitations when it comes to intelligence gathering, particularly in the area of technical and cyber intelligence. So I want to believe that if the United States government is writing this out letter, then it means that we should expect to have more of support in terms of intelligence sharing and equipment supply. Do not forget that because of the low technological base of Nigeria, Nigeria relies on other countries for the supply of the equipment that are needed to prosecute this campaign. It remains the right of every government whether to supply or not to supply. For example, we know about the Super Tucano aircraft, how long it took for the US government to approve that it should be sold to Nigeria. So I want to believe that if we have this kind of letter, it's also an assurance that Nigeria will continue to receive the needed support in terms of equipment supply towards prosecuting the campaign against insecurity.
Now, on October 31st, the Donald Trump administration declared Nigeria as a country of particular concern. We tried to respond in the best way that we could to some of the concerns that were raised as to persecution of Christians in Nigeria and what we're really doing in our fight against terrorism. But between then and now, it's about 9 months or so, there's been a spike in violent conflicts, in security incidents. There was a bombing in Maiduguri between the period when this was declared and now. There was a Kwara State massacre in February. There was an abduction in Oyo State in May. There was a Benue State attack this month. There have been uncountable number of kidnappings and killings. In fact, according to Amnesty International, it's 1,100 people that have been abducted between January and April 2026. So now that we're seeing this commendation letter from the President of the United States, is it now to say that we're no longer in that category of countries that should, that is a country of particular concern? Does this mean we're out of the waters?
Well, I think there are two different things. If it's about insecurity in Nigeria, I do not believe that we are out of the waters yet, because there are still challenges. But I believe that we are on an upward trajectory. But if it's about being a country or being referred to as a country of particular concern, do not forget that it was President Trump that came up with that expression. And if he has written a letter now to the country, then it means that as far as he's concerned, the Nigeria is no longer a country of particular concern. But on the issue of insecurity in Nigeria, we are not yet out of the world. Certainly, we are not where I would love that we should get to. Let's not forget that it's hardly possible that one will have a situation where there's no form of security challenge in the country. But what we are aiming for is that these incidences should be minimized as much as possible.
Well, Air Vice Marshal, thank you so much for your wealth of experience that you've been letting us into. I want to go back to that issue of the supply of the Super Tucano jets. There were rumors one time that one of the reasons or one of the permissions they were giving or conditions they were giving us before supplying the Super Tucano was not to use them for some specific kind of bombings and all that. Rumors were rife as at that time. Well, now with the coming of this letter and all of that, is it now that Trump and his people are now allowing us the particular use of that plane as to how it benefits us, as to how it benefits our military men, our servicemen? Please put that to rest for us.
Okay. The concern at the time the Super Tucano was being supplied was that under no circumstances should the aircraft be used to carry out operations that can be deemed as being against or as that can be deemed as being in violation of the human rights of those that will be on the other end of the aircraft. That was just the main thing, that it should not be used for the violation of human rights. And in that regard, I think there were certain areas where it was believed that this aircraft should not be allowed to operate. That was a condition attached to the aircraft. And the way the U.S. government operates is that, to the best of my knowledge, for example, the embassy here that gives visa is one entity. The Department of Homeland Security at the point of entry in the US is also another entity. So that you have got a visa does not mean that you will actually enter into the United States of America. So the conditions I want to believe attached to that aircraft will remain in place unless if they have also been reversed, which I am not privy to at the moment. But be that as it may, clearly those conditions have not really hampered the use of the Super Tucano because, of course, the focus of the Nigerian Armed Forces has never been to violate human rights, but to simply focus on minimizing insecurity in the country. And of course, the Super Tucano is not the only aircraft that the Armed Forces of Nigeria have in their possession. There are quite a number of other fighting assets too.
So are you confirming to us now that the Super Tucano is already in combat, especially to fight against terrorism?
Can you say that again, please?
Are you confirming to us right now that the Super Tucano jet is already in combat, especially in the fight against terrorism?
The Super Tucano aircraft has been in combat in the fight against terrorism for quite a number of years now.
All right. Air Vice Marshal Tokunbo, before we let you go, quickly, 60 seconds, the debate of the legitimacy of this letter is still very much on. Nigerians are very much interested, to know if the commendation comes in at a time where, yes, we do need some commendations. We've been called the country of a particular concern in the past, so if some commendation is coming from the same camp, then, of course, we are happy to hear it. But the debate is still on online. We see that an American lobbyist is also doing a comparison of the letter that was sent to Argentina President Javier at the time, and this one that was sent to us as well. The comparison of words and all that is still to the debate of how legitimate it is. But in 60 seconds before we let you go, why is this response from the U.S. president even important to us in the first place? Why do you think it is?
Oh, well, why I think it's important is also the same reason why we think it's important the opinion of President Trump as to whether Nigeria is a country of particular concern. At the time President Trump made that statement, of course, many people ran with it, and maybe rightly so. So if the same person that made that statement, led to many people being concerned, is also writing to say otherwise, I think it should receive the same attention. And back to the legitimacy of the letter or otherwise, like I said, I would rather always prefer to believe the government of the day, unless there are reasons that come out clearly. And the only reason that can come out clearly now to oppose that one will be if the United States or President Trump denies that it ever sent out that letter. But if that doesn't come up, let's believe this. And then let's also know that even though we are not yet where we are, it's important that the fighting troops, the government of the day, and all those actors in the fight against insurgency and terrorism know that they have the backing of the populace. It gives a lot of morale to the fighting troops, and they know that the cause for which they are fighting is being recognized and being supported and appreciated by the populace.
All right, Vice Marshal Tokunbo Adesanya retired. Thank you very much for your time, for sharing your perspective with us this morning. And we do hope that this letter is real and we get a response, maybe even a video from U.S. President Donald Trump as usual. And of course, that would confirm all that. But thank you for your time on the program this morning. Enjoy the rest of your day.
You too, please. And it's been a pleasure speaking with you.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it.